This podcast is brought to you by Alldus International, supplying your expert AI and digital transformation staffing needs across the US and Europe. Today, you are listening to our AI in Action series, where leading minds in AI from across the world share their story, success, and advice. AI in Action cuts through the hype and explores the true impact of artificial intelligence in our world today.
Welcome to the AI and Cyber podcast. I'm your host, Mark Kelly. Today, I've got Geraldine Powderly, CISO and VP at SkySpecs, joining us on the podcast today. Geraldine, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you. It's nice to meet you. Excited to be here.
Geraldine, how did you get into the world of cyber?
I got very lucky, really. I started off did a degree in electronics and software development. And from there, I went straight into Ericsson in Athlone. And I was there for 8 years as software development and quality, and worked in management and worked my way up. And I moved from that into the FDA world of Boston Scientific, so learned a lot around audits and all of that, but wanted to stay very technical. So I was kind of pushed into the management role because I guess I can lead people, but I always wanted to keep the technical aspect. And I guess into 10, 15 years into my career, I asked in my head, what am I going to do next? And ask, and you shall receive one day a very important person in my life who came into my life. He was a director of a company that I was working in called Synchronos. His name was Mike Coco. He had an opportunity in security, and I had seen a little bit of pen testing, but he said, I want you to do it. And it was incident response above all things. And I was very I don't know anything about it. And he said, we'll train you. He sent me to London for 7 days SANS boot camp. Because I had done network engineering, I'd done software, I'd worked in all of it, it really was a good fit. And then I took on a role of incident response, which was a whole new world, right? Trying to, obviously, seeing all the alerts and dealing with them and actually understanding what was happening on the networks. And I was with Synchronos for 8 years, and we started off with a team of 3. And by the time I left, I had 22 people globally reporting to me. So we built up an entire security team. I was director of security operations there. And in those 8 years, I got to do so much. I spent a lot of time in incident response. I did pen testing, vulnerability management. We had PCI audits, so did all the governance, risk, all of that side of it. So I had a huge breadth because we had to build a team, so you had to learn it as well. And I think there's nothing like the world of incident response to make life real, right? Especially when you're having discussions with software development managers who don't have the time to fix vulnerabilities and have discussions as to why that wouldn't really happen. And I'm like, well, okay, let me tell you the story of the day, the incident that we were on where this did happen. So it works out really well when you have all that background. And for me, I got both. I got to my career to expand in leadership, but still it offers the technical side because you need both. You don't need to know everything, right? But you need to have a high level understanding so that you can talk the talk to a certain level with most, with your software developers or your network engineers or whoever. I think in security, you're found out pretty quick if you don't have a good grasp of it. So it was perfect. And I actually just went, this is really what I want.
It feels like now more than ever having that leadership but being close to the technical is just a must-have.
It is, yeah. It's a must-have, but it causes fear then as well, or resistance maybe in some people to go into cybersecurity, to make the jump. And I've had that discussions, with people coming out of college, or that they like the idea of it, but how do they make it? And the interesting thing is anybody in their 20s, or maybe most people, want to be pen testers. Everyone wants to be a pen tester. And the truth of it is not everybody can be a pen tester. I did the pen testing training because it helped me be a better incident responder. I wasn't that good at being a pen testing, but I was good at other parts. Yeah. So I would say to people that, pick aspects of it, whatever your strengths are, maybe go deep dive into that. But you don't have to be like right down into the nitty-gritty to get into cybersecurity and learn how to lead it and strategize and know what to do.
Yeah. And you've been very focused about mentoring and kind of sending the elevator down as well, and kind of bringing through to the next generation.
Yeah.
Was that something you just kind of naturally fell into, or?
I guess because I was always in engineering from the start. I mean, it was there. And like when I went to university, there was 5 women in a class of 80. And it's kind of sad to see that my youngest son is 21 now, and he's doing the exact same course I did. And there's only 5 in his class.
So the dial hasn't moved.
It hasn't moved. In fact, I think it's actually gotten worse. Yeah.
And so many initiatives have been started and not finished.
So it's always been there, right?
Yeah.
But there would have been, I think we fall into our niches, like a lot of women end up in the quality role, right? In software validation or software testing or quality. And, you know, the men more in the software. That would have been my experience over the years. When I got into cybersecurity, there's no women at all.
Wow.
Very, very little. Now, it has changed. Like I do see even in the last 2 years, I noticed there seems to be a lot more women in the Irish side. But outside, Ireland's very good in comparison to maybe the UK or the US, right? It's very, very male focused. So that probably does put women off, but it's a great experience because in general, your male counterparts want you to do well, right? They want to bring you on and they want you to succeed. In fact, they wouldn't know why you wouldn't succeed. So it is a great place to be.
What assumptions do you think, rightly or wrongly, the males sometimes make that maybe they underestimate their impact or influence?
I mean, they can't see what they don't know, right? They don't come into a meeting assuming there's anything different about it. And unless there are maybe, I don't know, things said or mentioned or that surprises them. I mean, I've experienced loads of it over the years. Most of it, actually, sometimes, to be honest with you, I don't take any notice of it. And I've been on calls where afterwards my male colleague has said, "Why did they say that to you? That's not good enough." And I'm thought to myself, I actually didn't. I have built I don't take any notice of it. They don't realise, and I know I've heard this said, but it is true, we do have to prove ourselves that little bit more, especially when it comes to technical. In my experience, if there's 3 or 4 men on a table and 1 woman, and I'm the technical one, I'm not assumed as the technical one. And I have been, again, where you have your allies who say, well, you know, she's the leader or she's the security person. And they kind of bring you out and give you the confidence to speak up in a call. So what I want to say, especially to like my male peers listening, you're really, really important, right, as an ally to ensure that, you know, the woman in her job gets to lead or gets the inputs exactly the same. And just to maybe take a look and see, is that happening and can you encourage them or bring them on?
Yeah.
And I've met loads of, over my career, men that have played a very important part in my career by pushing me out of my comfort zone, which is what I needed, giving me opportunities, and they changed my career because of that.
Yeah. What are some limiting beliefs that you feel with the next generation coming through, or maybe limiting beliefs isn't the right word? What kind of perspective do you try to show people that want to get into this field but are a little bit worried that they don't know everything, so they're holding them back? And sometimes we can find for female candidates, they can be a little bit hesitant to go for certain positions because they don't think they know everything, where we've got male candidates who we're thinking, well, this guy's pushing his luck, but he's going forward for it. Yeah. And that's just nearly 20 years of recruitment experience that I'm seeing myself, and I know my teams will probably replicate that. Yeah. Do you see that?
Yeah, I think that's spoken about a lot, that in general, women will look at the job spec and try to pick everything, right? Whereas a man will pick 2 or 3 and say, I know that, right? And go in and they'll learn it. And maybe that starts all the way back in school. It's a confidence thing. But I think we have to, that's the comfort zone, right? Because if you think back to what I said, I had my degree, I had all my experience in software engineering, I had my management experience. I really didn't know cybersecurity. And a director at the time, that man, Mike Coco, he pushed me. You know, I left his office thinking, I don't know if I really want to do this. But he was like, you can do this. And I did it, and I've never looked back. So would I have applied for it that day? Probably not. Even though I was crying out in my head, thinking I want something different.
Sometimes we can forget it takes a village, and
Yes.
so many different people have such an important influence, and then there's like a sliding doors moment, and then suddenly you're just on a trajectory.
Yes. And I can give you a comparison, right, where I saw it as well, or it really stuck out to me. So, not now, but years ago, I would have done a lot of road cycling, road racing. And women's racing is very, very small in Ireland, right? It's all men. So when I would be training all winter with my club, my cycling club, it's maybe 2 females and 30 men. But we're all real good friends. Everyone suffers. Everyone's out in the rain. Everyone's out in the wind. Everyone does the hours. Everyone hurts all winter. Then when we would go to the races, there would be maybe no race for the women because they forgot or they didn't have enough, maybe commissaires, or sometimes there was no prizes because it was just, there wasn't enough.
Yeah.
So they couldn't afford to do it. But what happened was the men that were out with me, my friends, were like, well, hold on. They trained all winter. They did everything and they're not getting the opportunity. Now, this is 10, 15 years ago. And it changed because the clubs went, actually, we're going to change this. We're going to put on a race for the women. We're going to be sure there's a first and second prize. We're going to be sure there's an ambulance following. We're going to be sure there's a commissaire. And they changed it.
Yeah.
And that really woke me up to say, actually, that's happening in work as well. You know, there can be people that you work with that are the opposite. But I would say most, particularly Irish men, are like excellent at wanting everybody to be equal and bringing women in the tech industry on. They want it.
When we look at the world of cyber now, you've got AI that's helping, and then you've got AI that's not, and it's the kind of the attacker. It feels like everyone's kind of lost their head. There's so many different types of regulations, different types of technology updates. We've now got OpenCloud, previously known as Multibot, previously known as CloudBot, where you can now have an AI that's on your own system that actually reports into you, acts as an employee. You can work off WhatsApp that ultimately can get so many different viruses within a moment, which is leading incredible vulnerabilities open up. I was shocked to see one of my customers had downloaded on their own PC. I couldn't believe it. But then the basics are still important in saying that as well. How do you keep your head calm when everyone else is losing them?
So it's not easy, like, because a few years ago when this really started to become something and everybody was downloading, and a lot of it is SaaS, right? So it's so easy to sign up. And we were already fighting shadow IT, right? Massively fighting shadow IT. And now we had this world of shadow AI. And, you know, I found myself being asked by, you know, employees in the company, what's your guidelines? What should we do? When should we do this? And I'm thinking, well, I don't even know. What is this now? What model is this? What is that? Because it all changed so fast every single day. And it did cause how are we going to deal with this? So myself and my team, we did sit because we thought we have to have answers, we have to have policies, we have to have guidelines, we have to say what you're allowed to do, what not. How will we even decide that? So we basically, we went back to the basics, because at the end of the day, it is still basic security 101 that needs to be done. Like, what is the software? Is there hardware? What is the access points? What traffic, what type of traffic is it on the network? What's been stored? How has it been stored? Like, they're the same questions. Yeah. The problem is the speed that it's coming at and the access that everyone has. And I'm not a believer in trying to say no to everything, because that was people in security, or people think security people say is no. Yeah. If you do that, you just drive them underground, right? They're going to do it anyway. So we have split it into 3 areas. to try and calm ourselves and not be overwhelmed, because there's the employee who wants to use it for ChatGPT type world. Then there's every single vendor that you have that has a feature that's now AI, that have either enabled it without you asking them, or has advertised it and somebody in the sales team wants to enable it because it's going to be brilliant. And then the other one is, what about the products that we're making? Why don't we have AI in that? We should have AI. So they're the three areas: the vendors, the employees wanting to use it to help make their jobs better, easier, and the product. And we split them into those three areas. And then the product is probably easier to control because that's product development and normal life cycle, and you can go through a proper plan and discussion and do your vulnerability assessment and all that. The vendor one is actually probably the most difficult, even more harder than just people wanting to use AI.
Yeah.
Because it's enabled, and it's a sub-processor within another sub-processor, who all roads lead to one or two main people or main companies, OpenAI, Anthropic anyway. And it's difficult. So what we've chosen to do, again, there's a lot of frameworks out there, a lot of, the privacy laws and AI laws. We've chosen ISO 42001 because we're already familiar with the 27001, and it's a good framework, and it's similar. It's very similar, just the context is different. And that brought some calmness, because when we actually looked at it, we realised, well, we do it all already anyway for 27001. It's just that it's slightly different, right? There's the OWASP top 10 for LLMs, or there's, different policies around data classification, but it's still, bottom line, it's still the same. So take a deep breath and get your policy and strategy in place. And in my opinion, you have to, it's a train on the track. It's already left the station. You have to accept it. So now you have to say, how are we going to secure it and allow people to use it?
Yeah, because sometimes with all these different changes, your gut reaction is to continue and follow through. But actually, you do just need to just keep doing the basics, and just get people on the basics. They're on the treadmill. Yeah. And then it's actually easier to add in the updates, because they're so well trained for those basics. Where I've seen organizations stop, they've been chasing chasing the hare, and then they come back and then their basics have fallen off. So it's going to be very difficult to kind of re-energize that as well. An awful lot of it is common sense.
Yeah, like even the data classification, I was asked only a few weeks ago, like, can we do specific training for data classification for AI users? I'm like, we can, but it's the exact same rules as any other use of data. Don't publicly expose it if it's confidential. Yeah. It's the same type of thing. Make sure it's encrypted in transit, etc., encrypted at rest. So it is, and that has worked. For me, it has. Take the deep breath, realize it is the same fundamentals. There are differences, and there are some unknowns still, and it's changing at speed. That's still the challenge, though, right? And everybody wants it, and they want it immediately.
Yeah. And it's funny, because we're seeing the terms and conditions now being sent from the vendors. Please accept. And there's new AI features. Yeah. A lot of the time they're not communicated. No. And you're on the hook. Some people don't understand that you're on the hook as a deployer. Yeah. If you're actually infringing on your customers or your employees in whatever different way. I think Gartner said it's like 86% of vendors are going to have some type of AI feature in 2026. So it's not even like we're pushing this down to 2028. It's this year.
Yeah, it's there. That pulls more time then on vendor management, right? And third-party risk management. Whereas if we take AI out of the picture, you're back to the world of, have they got a SOC 2 Type 2? Have they an ISO certification? Send out our nice 300 questionnaire to them, and we can all go home. But that's changed now with AI. Yeah. And what we found as well is it's very difficult to get the answers. So if you look up the frameworks, or you say, well, what will I put in my questionnaire to ask my vendor? And there's loads, but how will they give you the answers? I don't even know if the people filling them out have the true answer.
Yeah.
Where is my data? Where about the prompts that I put in? Will that be used?
And we saw with OpenAI, I think it was the first court case where they've asked to see the prompts.
Oh, okay.
So now it becomes what you're prompting can be used in evidence. Where previously I was kind of, well, will it, won't it? And now they're like, okay, so what you're actually doing. So if people knew that, they probably wouldn't.
Yeah.
So it becomes very, very. I think we're gonna start to see the new world order now change with what gets requested, what's yours, what's not. There's 1.2 billion AI users now.
Yeah, and it's changing so fast that we won't have that information. If they say, okay, you need to prove this in evidence from something that happened 6 months ago. Well, 6 months ago that wasn't a requirement, so.
Yeah.
We didn't keep it.
Yeah. But now it is.
But again, I always say this, right? You have to, in order to keep calm as a CISO or over a security team, you make the decision with the information you had at the time. And you document the decision with the reasons why you made it. And that is the best that you can do. And you can do your root cause analysis in the future and say, it was a bad decision. But at least it's a decision made and documented. And everybody, the stakeholders all agreed. This is our decision. We're going to do following or we're not going to do following.
Yeah.
And that's...
How do you stay up to speed yourself?
Well, I'm very lucky, I think, in the company. Lucky or unlucky, in the company that I work in, they're very tech savvy. So I have no choice but to be up to speed because every day there's something new being requested. And like I said earlier, what is this latest? I have to start looking at it. So we do that. Now, one of the things I have done last year and I plan to do this year with my team is, and I'm not going to just segregate it to a security analyst. I think everyone needs training in AI. So I plan to do that, even if it's to sign up for webinars and we have 1 hour a week to listen to a webinar on AI. I think the IT team, the security team, they need to have all of it, all of the lingo.
Yeah.
They might never work in parts of it, but I think that's important.
Yeah, and I think that group literacy is incredibly important.
Yeah.
Because you're then growing as an organisation rather than people being left behind because they won't need it. But as per the EU AI Act, everyone needs it.
Everyone needs
Everyone needs it. And that could be your hour, it could be just a AI 101. But then that builds self-esteem. People ask more questions. A lot of the times people don't want to come across as stupid, so they kind of hide the fact they don't ask it. Having that level playing field, it really kind of helps people.
And it takes the fear out of it a little bit, that they can answer the questions when they come in. Because the questions we're getting asked is, can we use this? Can we have security approval to use this feature? Yeah. And you're like, well, how are we going to answer that question? How are we going to say you have approval?
Yeah.
And then that's working backwards.
Yeah. So having a kind of a tech savvy company that you're working with, do you understanding that everyone needs to go on the journey? Yes. So you have to be a leader to follow through on it anyway, because you're naturally there. And then any podcasts or video kind of YouTubes, do you watch yourself? Conferences, any kind of things that are important? Yeah.
So the conferences that I like, the big one I'm a fan of. So I go to the Zero Con one here in Dublin, and then I have the CISSP, so I do the ISC2 conferences as well.
Yeah.
Get all my CPEs. And then whatever, I get loads of webinars that pop in and out of my email, so when I take the time, I listen into them as well.
And not to mention the stories when you meet your colleagues or your people in the industry and they share their kind of stories as well. That's a lot of learning can come from that too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're so important.
Yeah. It's interesting because, again, like everything, like it's AI now. A few years ago, it was zero trust. Prior to that, it was cloud.
Yeah.
There's always something, right, that makes everybody nervous, and you have to learn about it. But again, I think everything is patterns in life, and you start to realise it's still the same. Just different names. Maybe there is some more scary things, obviously, that come with AI and deepfakes and all of that. But again, the culture, right, of teaching people about deepfakes and about those phone calls and what is actually happening, and to question people is a big one because people are naturally trusting.
Yes, absolutely. They really are. Personally, when I saw the 4 people joined a Zoom call.
Yeah.
Unbeknown to the fund accountant, the 3 of his colleagues were deep fakes. $12.5 million transferred over. They never received it back. But what you learn is that's just one of many. That's just one that's talked about.
Yeah.
And the deepfake technology is since Sora 2 and Google VO. It's just indistinguishable. You cannot tell that person is there. It's duping governments and things like that. It's just a crazy time. But having literacy, just explaining the rules of the road of what's actually happening, then at least you're building up some confidence on the decisions that you make for every generation.
And teaching people, like, again, the deep fakes are excellent, right? The video call, like you said, the fake Zooms, it's all, you're just not going to know the difference, right? Yeah. But there's always a tell sign that, because it's a human person they're trying to exploit. So it's always about urgency. It's always too good to be true. It's always something slightly suspicious. That hasn't changed. Yeah. They've just gotten better at doing it. But I would say that I would try to get that message across. If it's urgent, then wait, because there's something wrong here. Yeah. And if it's too good to be true, it probably is, right? And like, we weren't on that call with that person that transferred that money, but they probably put pressure on them to do it, because it was probably not a normal event either. It
wasn't, because actually what they did was they asked them to do 4 separate transactions of 2.5 million, which there's an alarm bell on that straight away. But even just that rule of 3 there, I think it's really good just to remind people and listeners on that case where, too good to be true. Yeah. Urgency, and the final part was the I forgot about it. Too good to be true. Urgency is good enough for me.
So they can't change that because it's preying on the humans.
Right?
Yeah,
exactly.
And even though it's really good, you want people to stop. But people want to respond quickly. They want to be nice. They want to be helpful. Yeah. Every time we run any type of a phishing campaign or a pen test, and we talk to the person, they're saddened themselves. They were like, oh, it was just I hadn't time, and I was only speaking to my manager 2 minutes about that, and then you sent the email. You know, and I'm there, but that's how it works.
But it's just such good training, and then people to develop for life.
Yeah,
they do. The back of it.
And the one link they don't like to click on is the actual training video. The amount of people that report that.
I know.
I think you click on other links, but not the one for trading.
Geraldine Powderly, CISO and VP at SkySpecs, thank you very much for joining us on the podcast today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Alldus podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. We are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and any Android podcast of choice. You can also head over to our website, www.alldus.com, to listen to more podcasts, view our open roles, and stay up to date with industry news. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned for more great episodes coming very soon.